All right, so we're out here live and in person. I'm going to get this off to the side. Welcome everyone again. Today we're going to talk about getting started with D2L. And I know that some of you have already, set in on some stuff, probably during professional development days, the LINS classes that we talked. You probably heard a little bit about that. Really, what I'm going to focus on today, and then also over the next number of lessons, is, how do I use the tools within D2L, but also how can I teach, hopefully effectively, in an online course? And so that's some of the things I also want you to kind of walk away with. It's not just what is the tool, okay? It's going to be how can I use some of these tools in this online environment. So before we ever get into D2L, there's a bunch of things that I share with students. I do an orientation at the very beginning of the semester. Down here where it says Explore Online Classes, students can actually go into, and no, I thought they could. They could actually do an orientation that we offer. So at the beginning of each semester, I use Zoom as a way to actually invite students in, and we talk about how do we use the different systems here on campus. And so I think for a lot of students, I will not disagree. Online learning is not for everyone. But unfortunately, for some people, it's maybe the only way they can get their degree. They have children, they have a family, and they just can't get away from home. And so these sessions, I think, are probably as much building their confidence in that, yes, I can do this. I can log into D2L, and I can look for these assignments, and I know where I can find things. Yes, it's not the best way, but it does provide them with that little confidence that they know how they can succeed in the class. So at the beginning of each semester, I offer these sessions. I record these sessions like I'm doing right now, and then I provide those to students that they can go back and listen. I say, if you're having problems sleeping at night, watch this. Guaranteed to put you to sleep. But I find myself over the last number of years, I do pretty much the same, spiel. I talk about the same kinds of things, and so they're very, very, very similar to that. Okay. The other thing that I tell students, and I'll tell you that, is that up here in the login, besides Desire to Learn, there's also Office 365. And so, you have access to Microsoft Office products as students, as faculty. You can use that. That's kind of the direction that a lot of schools are going, but Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all those are available. As students, they're paying for this, and so they can use it. We're also going to talk about other tools within D2L, like Google. You can use things like Google Spreadsheets and Google word processing and stuff like that. So students have a lot of things at their disposal. The other thing that I'm noticing, especially having two teenagers in the lower schools, these students know this stuff. Okay, they're already using the Microsoft products. They're already using Google to do things. And so it's not unusual for them to already have Google accounts and doing stuff in that environment. So for a lot of times you just say, well, don't go buy Microsoft Office as a student. You can go out here and get, as part of a student, that for free. So I tell students about that. The other thing that we talk about is that I'll get my face out of the way. In the class search, we've also narrowed it down so you can actually look at what online classes are available, because they are popular. A student could come out here, click on the online class search, and it's going to hopefully come back with what classes are available online. Right now, this class is already started, but I come over here and I click on the CRN number, and there's something called the Course Information Guide. Now, one of the things that we've seen is that students may want to know a little bit more about your specific class that you might be teaching online. What do they do that might set them aside, from your colleague down the hall? And so what we're providing is for all the online classes, and that's right now all the online classes. They can click on an online course guide or course information guide. And I've invited faculty who teach online to answer some questions. So if you're going to teach an online class for us here at Johnson County, you will have the ability to basically fill out this little questionnaire. Will there be any on-campus exams? I would say the majority of our classes will not have a proctored exam. They'll do most of the stuff through D2L. But I know in the math department, okay, there's going to have to be at least 2, probably a midterm and a final that will be proctored. The only reason I know that is my son took a summer algebra class, okay, online, and he had to come out here to the testing center for his midterm, and then he had to come out here at the end of the semester to take his final. Now, we make arrangements. If there is a student that's in another state somewhere, or even in another country, there are proctoring services that we can make arrangements to take those exams and make that happen. But a lot of times students will want to know, do I have to come on campus? Is this going to be self-paced? How often should I log into the class? This is available for all students before the class ever begins. It's available for them as they might be going through a decision-making process. You know, I'm going to take this instructor over this instructor, and that's kind of a process that you look at. Okay, so if you didn't know it was there, it's there, and we're trying to continue to build on that. So if you are teaching for us online, get a hold of me. We'll make sure that we get you in there, Mary. Okay, and make sure that we get that set up for you. We're actually going to set one up specifically for the winter session classes, so you'll get some more information from on that. All right, get down here, go back, close that up. Okay. All right. So the other thing is that we have up here under the logins, of course, the MyJCC portal. That's where they enroll for classes. That's where they pay for classes. That's where they check for transcript information that they're having. There's also links inside of the MyJCC portal over to D2L. I can get you two set up with that. We started the semester off with one approach, but I can get us using this JCC portal to make that happen. So, desire to learn. Okay, here is my JCC. Let's get back here. If I remember what that is. All right. So today, if you're just itching to get in here, today's probably going to be, let's talk about the environment. Let's talk about what this looks like so that hopefully you're comfortable with what's going on in D2L. The thing that you see across the top where it says My Home is called the minibar. This will always be here all the time, regardless of where you go inside of D2L, the minibar is always going to show up. If you ever get lost, you can always click on My Home, and it's always going to take us back to the very beginning. Next to it, in this little drop down, is called the selection of courses. Students will only see active courses. When I say an active course, that means when is that course officially starting? So if a student enrolls for, let's say, a spring class here the end of October or sometime in October, it's not going to show up in this drop down here. It may show up another place, but only active courses are going to show up in this drop down. As an instructor, you can tell I have a sad life. I have way too many classes. But as an instructor, I may go from semester to semester. So I may say I'm teaching these 3 classes this semester. So I can come down here and see this class here that says Early Fall 2016. Okay, that's the class you're in right now. And I can come right over here and there's this little button, this little push pin button. Okay, what that means is that I can go ahead and bring that up into the top of the list. And I don't need June anymore. I probably don't need July anymore. I probably don't need all these other ones. So when I click over here on the home button, and then I click again, what I should see is that, notice how that's being brought to the top of my list. So those little push buttons will typically bring the classes that I need to be working on a regular basis to the top. I know after you've been here for a while, you're going to have a long list of stuff to work with. Yes, ma'am.
Do those go alphabetically, or is there a way to control the order?
No, I don't. I think it's out. Well, I don't even know what it is. That's a good question. I'm really not sure.
I like the order they're in.
Okay.
I don't know how I got it.
I don't know how they did it either. I'm glad you like the order they're in. Okay. Sure. I really don't know. I just know that these little things here will turn them on and off, to the top to work with that. The other thing you could do is advanced searching out here. So sometimes you can go out and actually look for if it's in a certain department, a certain semester. What a lot of people find out is if you taught here for a very long time, that may be a very long list. Okay. that it may be
Other than you, I guess.
As in my case, are you jealous? Do you want some more classes? Okay.
I'd be licky.
Yeah. The other little icons we have up here indicate different tools. And so the red dot says there's something new there. Once I click on that icon, the red dot will go away. When I click on this particular icon, you're going to see I have two different tools. One is called a pager tool. That is like an instant messaging tool. Okay, this is kind of old technology. You all remember back when you had the little instant messaging and you could ping each other back and forth? No one uses this a whole lot, okay? But it could be the situation in which, somebody could ping another person with inside D2L. Today, this is what everybody uses, okay? I have two teenagers. This is how they talk. Even in the same room, this is the way they talk to each other, okay? They won't physically talk. They talk to their girlfriends with this thing. Not talk, they text, okay? That's the way they communicate with each other. The pager tool is old, but yet it's part of the original D2L products. I don't use it a whole lot, but that's what it does, is instant messaging. Go to email. Okay, so here's another fascinating piece of information you're going to love to hear. You all have, as instructors here at Johnson County, 3 email accounts. Aren't we excited about that? Okay. So in my case, I have elovett@jccc.edu. Okay, that's probably the way most of you are communicated with within the department. You go out to the Office 365 environment, you can see those emails coming in. So your chairs, your deans, and all that are using that as a communication tool. Inside of D2L, there's also another email address, and that's, now let's just come over here. It's on, I spell right, online.jccc.edu. So this would be like online.jcc.edu. That is what came with D2L. Okay, and I said you had 3 email accounts. You also have access to @stumail.jccc.edu. All right, why? Why 3 emails accounts? Why do I need all of those? Well, the @jcc.edu, from an employee perspective, is what we've been using. Okay, that's attached to Microsoft Office products, and so what we've been using for a very, very long time. Okay. All students use StuMail, which is really a Google account. So all of our students at Johnson County Community College get a StuMail, which is a Gmail or Google account. And because there are functionalities within Google, like Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Hangout, that are available for students, faculty said, well, can't I also have my own StuMail account? Well, yes, you can. Yes, you do. So you have a StuMail account, you have an Office account, and then you also have inside of D2L an online or D2L account. Why a D2L account? History is kind of part of that reason. We used to use a product years ago called Angel. Okay, have any of you ever remember hearing a product called Angel? Some of you have been around here a while, remember that. Angel had its own email system inside of it that allowed faculty to kind of sort and categorize all the communications only for their courses inside of Angel. So if they were teaching, a Monday, Wednesday afternoon class, they knew exactly the communications that would be going on inside of that Monday, Wednesday afternoon class inside of Angel. That way, it wasn't getting sort of mixed in with all the other communications that might be coming into their other inbox, coming from the administration or coming from spam or whatever else like that. So Angel had its own internal email. And so because of the interest from faculty, the faculty of your college said, hey, Ed, we'd also like to turn on the D2L mail so I can look at what's going on inside of D2L. So when we click up here, right there, I'm only going to see what's going on inside of D2L. I'm not going to see any other communications that might be coming from the dean's office or the chair or anything else. It's only inside of D2L. Okay, now having said that, anything that comes into this account right here, if I'm an employee or a student, is automatically being forwarded to here. So if you go into @jcc.edu through your Office 365 account and you start teaching classes in D2L, you're probably going to start seeing some of these messages blended in with what's happening here. Students, we do the same thing. We forward anything in here out to their StuMail account. So when a student goes into their Gmail or StuMail account, they may start to see messages coming from D2L out there. And what we tell our students is that this is probably the most important account that they're going to want to be checking on a regular basis. It's important because not only will you be getting messages from inside D2L, but also from maybe the financial aid office, from maybe other administrative offices on campus. And so we really try to stress that they need to be checking that StuMail account. Okay. Does that make any sense as to why we have 3 email accounts on this campus? There's been discussion as to whether we really need this one here. Okay. That conversation continues. There may be some point in the future where that may go away. But for right now, it's only the communication going on inside the LMS with the online.
But don't you think that this is facilitating the students at least?
I think it does. It kind of keeps them together a little bit so that you know that that's only coming from your courses.
Because I am part of one of the course with Key. So I see quite frequently students composing the emails to her, and then in response she is also doing the same.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is going to end, then students have to again log into this one, because as per my understanding, this StuMail is not going to be connected with this online video sort of thing.
It will be forwarded to here, but it doesn't go the other way.
Yes, so that's what which I was just thinking of. As you said that in future, if it is going to be planned, then it is going to be away. So it may create a communication gap for the students, because most frequently students, when they are working something on it and then they come across with a question, so they can immediately go to that box and then click it and then put the question forward.
Sure.
And that is visible to all the students, I think.
Well, if it's from a
Of the
faculty member to the student. Now, emails are not always visible to every other student in the class. Discussions might be visible. An email may be a one-to-many communication. So from my perspective, I would use this email at the very beginning of the semester. And you might look and see, you probably got an email from me, maybe a few days ago, maybe last week, that said, "Welcome to the class." So at the beginning of the semester, I may send out a welcome message. And I know Mary and I are going to work together on this short 4-week class to make sure there might be multiple emails that go out before the class starts. Hello, you know what you're getting yourself into, and it's going to be a lot of work. 4 weeks, 3 credit hours. Okay. So, we're going to be sending out a lot of communication, not only before the class starts, but when the class is going on, to make sure that they're aware of what's going on with that. So, yeah, email, I don't know. I guess I could apologize for 3 email accounts, but I just want you to be aware that you have 3 email accounts with that. Okay, the next little option over here is going to be called updates or alerts. If there is a news message that comes out, and this is what we call the news widget right here in the center. Okay, I control the administrative news widget, but each of you have your opportunity to, in your course, have your own news widget. And I look at the news widget as almost being like this marker board up here. It's where I may make announcements of what might be going on. How many of you, when you teach your face-to-face class, might come in and write something up here that says quiz on Wednesday or Friday, or reminder that homework is due, blah, blah, blah? Do any of you do something like that in your face-to-face classes? No, you don't? Okay. You better know, okay? But I look at the news widget as being one of those things that I might write something up here that I want them to see when they walk in the door of my face-to-face class. This news widget would save that, or would serve that same purpose. This is what's going to be going on. The other thing I've seen the news widget used is that, well, we'll talk about it here in a second, but if there's some changes that have happened in your class, maybe you got sick, you weren't able to come into class. You could put something out there that says, okay, keep reading these assignments, keep working on this material. Believe it or not, we do have snowstorms in this state. It's been a long time. I think we closed once last year. Actually, maybe twice. We closed when the Royals won the World Series, okay? And maybe we can look forward to that again, okay? But, sometimes we close the campus for weather-related issues or World Series championships. But it's a way for us to post something out there that other students can see what's going on. All right. Over here in the corner. Yes, ma'am.
Is that news specific to the class?
No. This news widget is for the college itself. You will have your own news widget inside your course. Okay? So Ed controls this one. This is Ed's news widget. And I try to be very conscious and conservative. I do not put bake sales out there, so don't even ask me, okay? I won't put things out there. I don't care if you're selling Girl Scout cookies, Boy Scout things, okay? This is not what I put out here. I just put stuff out here that's very dedicated to the college. Now, each of you, as we log into your courses, will have this same tool that you will be able to target messages specifically to your students. Does that answer that question a little bit? Okay, I go to the upper right corner and I see in the corner that as I start digging into my class, I can look at courses as students. That's important because you might start to design your course. The material may not be available until a certain date. Maybe a quiz cannot be taken until a certain date. And as you're designing it as an instructor, you see everything, but then you may want to say, well, what does the student see? What will they see when they log into this class? So as you come into your courses, you'll see up here in the corner, view as a student, which means I kind of changed my way of looking at things to that of being a student. When you're in the iTeach class that you've put you in, you are a student. Okay, I'm not going to apologize for that because I want you to have that student experience. But in the classes that you are working on, that you're teaching, you will have administrative rights to those classes. And so there might be times that you need to flip over and see what does this look like from that student perspective. So as you go up in the corner, you may see that. And it may not happen until you come into a course that you see this up here in the corner that says view as a student. And then you can click on that again and switch back to an instructor mode. So it's kind of a toggle switch that you're going to see as you come in. All right, another thing that you're going to see up here is profile. Profile is optional, not required by JCCC, okay? What that means is that you don't have to put anything in here. I do as an instructor, I put a picture that has less gray hair up here, okay? Teenage boys do that to you. But I put a photo in there because I want my students to know that there's a person there. Now, I've had students that will say, I'm not comfortable putting my photograph up there. I have no problem with that. I had a student a few years ago, her name was Rose. Okay, she put a flower in there. Or if she had another thing, or a person had something that they were more comfortable with, that they might associate themselves with. We're not taking official photos and putting them in there. You don't have to. It's just an opportunity as you go through and look at some of the tools, like discussion tools, or the grade book, or the class list, that you could associate a person's photo with it, but it's not required for you to do that. Okay? So I guess somebody would say, I need to add a little more gray hair in there. Okay, that's okay. I'm not going to do that. Notifications. All right. So down here, a lot of these things I'm going to talk about will be maybe more student-oriented, more so than faculty-oriented. Notifications. This is really student-oriented. If a student logs in here and they would like to be notified if you have graded something in your grade book, they can get an email. It will come into their email saying, Dr. Lovett has graded this, or Dr. Lovett has changed the grade. Okay? You will never have students challenge grades, okay? Right? Wrong. Okay. I still remember all the time. I taught high school too. I taught junior high. Mr. Lovett? Yeah. So, this allows the students to get updates. Also, if there's new content that's being added into the computer, into the system, they can get an email for that. If there's a news item, remember that little news item that shows up? They would get a notification through an email. SMS, what's SMS stand for? Text message. So, what do my kids do? They could go up here, register their mobile number, okay? Can't even find it. I guess I won't worry about it. And basically, they would receive a text message if their grades have been entered. They would get a text message if we've added new content. They would get a text message if they decided to say, give me news information out there. So I spend time during the orientations telling students this, that if they want notifications, they would have to go in. We cannot do this for them. As the instructor, I can't go in there and make them do this. It's something that they have to self-select to happen. But there are a lot of students that like this, especially if the teacher was out. But they would go in and maybe put a news item into their course saying, hey, I'm out today. And then they would get that text message because they had subscribed to it and said, I would like any news notifications for that. Okay, does that make sense, kind of the notification? It's not something you can do, but it is something that you can encourage your students to do if you want to do that. Account settings. Here is, as you get older, I need these things right here, okay? So I can change the font size when I'm logged into D2L. So when I change the font size, it will follow me wherever I go. So if I log in here, if I log into my office, if I log into my classroom, it will change all the font sizes for my entire environment wherever I'm at. I can change the font type if I want to. There's other settings that I have down here towards the bottom that you can work with. I think there's actually a time setting. I think time zones we can work with. So lots and lots of different things can be set up that way. So your colleagues, your students back in Pakistan, they could probably go in here and find the time zone so that if Dr. Geeky said things are due at midnight on Monday or Sunday, it will make those adjustments because they might be in a different time zone. I don't expect them to sit there and go, you can 10 hours, what is 1 minute, what does that look like? Okay. So China would be the same thing. If I'm teaching in another part of the world, they can actually go in there and put the specific time zone that they might be working with on that. Does that make any sense there at all? All right. Email, this is over here on the side where I talked about anything that comes into the online is automatically going to be copied over and forwarded to another email account. I think in you choose cases, I think we're actually forwarding that to your Pakistan accounts right now. So if anything comes in there, it's going over to another location for that to happen. Okay. Now, I won't tell you this, but I just did. You can change that. Okay. Students can't. Okay. We won't let students do it. But if there's a different email account that, as an adjunct, especially if you're checking another account and you're more comfortable with that, snoopydog@yahoo.com, if that's what you want to put in there, go ahead, you can do that. Okay. I'll have to edit that out of my video here right now. Okay. All right, we're going to cancel that. I'm going to come back up here to the top and click on my home. Come back over here. We have what we call widgets. See these little boxes up here I'm opening and closing? As an instructor here at the college, all of you should be seeing this faculty resource widget. Widget here, widget here, widget here, widget here. You see these little triangles. In some cases, I can minimize them. In some cases, I cannot minimize them. This resources widget will have some information that I think is helpful for you. There's a checklist out here that many of you may want to take a look at as you get ready to start a semester. You just click on this little link and it says something. Merging of courses. Do any of you teach multiple sections of the same course? Okay. Many times when you teach multiple sections of the same course, the materials are the same. Okay. The syllabus might even be the same. And so we do have a lot of instructors on campus that will say materials are the same, maybe the due dates are the same, everything. I'm just going to bring multiple sections together for what we call a merge. So that when I start the class, my rosters are all brought together. So any communications that I send out will go to all the students. I can still separate them in the grade book if I want to. So if I have section 1, I can only see section 1 or 2 or 3. I can still do that. So we do have a number of our faculty here on campus and will say it's the same information. I'm just going to bring all these multiple sections together into one course shell. And so that's something that you would want to do before the beginning of the semester. The reason why is that that is one place you put all the content into, is that one merged course. Okay? Don't put stuff into 3 separate classes and then decide you're going to merge them together. You will lose the stuff. Actually, you won't lose it. It just is very difficult for me to get that back. So the concept of a merged course, does that make sense if you're teaching multiple sections of the same class? Especially face-to-face. I see a lot of people starting to do that because the content is the same, the syllabus is the same, all that stuff.
But you can still divide it out somehow?
In the grade book, I can. So if I, at the end of the semester, need to know only the students that are in this section, I can separate that out. I can separate separate discussion threads for different sections. So yeah, there's ways that I can separate that out. Okay. Now, there's a limit of 3 sections. Okay. If you need 4, you'll have to ask for permission or send me an email and say, Ed, please, can you do more than that? Your roster, making sure that everything has come across at the beginning of the semester, verify your classes. Always go back into the MyJCC portal to make sure that the list of names inside there matches what you have over in D2L. MyJCC is always the official list of students versus the D2L system. We're pretty good. I mean, we hardly ever miss a student that is enrolling. But there are some times where something happens that may not get them over into that course roster. Just double check and make sure that they are there. Another thing that we're going to talk about, not today, but is if I've taught a class, maybe let's say last semester, and I want to take everything that I developed in the previous semester and simply copy it over into the next semester. There's going to be an import copy process. I'm not going to do that today, but we will talk about that during these sets of training sessions. The other thing that we're going to talk about is all of you will probably want what we call a source course. Now, my colleagues from Pakistan, I think, have already created source courses for you. These are empty course shells. They're sandboxes. There's no students in these classes. That way, you can say, I wonder what that button does, okay? And not fire off an email to everybody in the class that says something, okay? A source course or a sandbox is just an empty course shell. And you can ask for multiple source courses. I have colleagues that will say, Ed, I'm teaching a 16-week class fall, spring, but then I'm also teaching a 8-week class in the summer. Or I'm going to teach a 4-week class during the winter. That course design probably is going to look a lot different from 16 weeks versus 8 weeks versus 4 weeks. So I make it look very different. So I might have a different source course that I will use in the design process. Maybe I get a brand new textbook. Okay, that never happens, right? We never get new materials. But I may get a brand new textbook, I may have new materials, then I may want a new source course that I can go out there and start playing with the materials and seeing how that might work. Another use of a source course might be a departmental environment. Maybe the department has said, hey, I'm just going to put all these things out there. I'm going to put quizzes out here. I'm going to put handouts out here. I'm going to put lots of materials. And as an instructor, I can go in and selectively grab only certain materials. So source courses have lots of possibilities. But as we move forward in this class, I would like for each of you to have at least one source course. That's a sandbox that you can try things out. Now, as I go back over here into this environment, you'll see one of the second things right here is a URL out to a source course. It's going to allow you to request a source course. Now, if you didn't, Mr. Bossi, I've already created one. If you need more, I'll go ahead, because you might not be able to get into this link out here right now. But if you want more than one, I'll create multiple source courses for you to do that. Okay. And it's just an opportunity to have a sandbox, multiple sandboxes. Does that make sense at all? Okay. The merge class, we talked about that also briefly. Taking multiple sections of the same class, bringing them together so there's one class roster that I can separate out. I'll show you what that looks like. And then finally down here we have removing of courses. When you've been here since dirt, like I have, you might say, get that out of there. I don't want that in there anymore. Okay, I can help remove those courses. Currently what we will do is we will leave all your courses that you teach. I call them production courses that have students in them, on the server for 2 years. Okay. After 2 years, let's say fall of 2014, we'll be taking those off the server probably in January. If we haven't, I don't think we have yet. But we leave them out there for 2 years, and then we take them off, simply so it doesn't clutter up a lot of stuff that's out there. Okay. We never take source courses off. Source courses will always be on there. We still have courses that people translated stuff from Angel about 4 years ago. They're still on the servers. If you don't want that on your list, you fill out a remove course request, and I will take that off for you. Okay, let me take a breath. Questions so far? You're all right. I see kind of a question look over there.
I think it's coming, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
With the merged course, do you just pick the name of the course yourself then? Because these course names are just, they come up.
Sure. No, you don't pick the name of the course. What I will typically do is what's your classes you teach?
Math 115 is, I have 2 sections of that one.
Okay. So I'm going to keep that in the name of the class. And then if it's multiple sections, I put multiple CRN numbers.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Right now, there's going to be something that says -80531 2016-08. Okay. That's the way probably a single course would look like. If I merge that, I will take this CRN number, put it here, another CRN number like that with 2016-08. So the students will still hopefully not freak out that, they still know they're in the right course. So that's typically what I will do is I just use the exact same name, same semester, everything like that. So these students should be fine. Other questions? All right. So there's other things down here like YouTube videos. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you're trying to figure out how to do something in D2L, a lot of times when you call Ed, when Ed doesn't know the answer to the question, guess where Ed goes? I will go out here and look at maybe some of the different videos that are available. So there's tons of stuff out here, on how to create quizzes, how to create grade books, how to create discussions, how to create lots and lots of different things. The nice thing is that they're pretty short, 3 to 5 minutes in length, and you can play it over and over and over again, okay? The only difference you might see on some of these videos is they might brand it a little bit differently. So if I come back over here, you'll see that we have the JCC logo up here, okay? And maybe a different color background. When you look at the videos, they're maybe going to have, a D2L kind of look and feel. But you can look at those videos over and over again, if you want to. That's entirely why we're here. You'll also see up here we have the faculty support. This is also very important. You are actually in one of our labs here in the EdTech Center. Okay, right on the other side of this wall over here, I have one of the most important resources here on campus. So that's my staff. If he is there too, so he's a very important resource as well. You didn't know when you're done with this class, you're going to be answering questions, right? That was part of your. So when you come up here, we have a lot of people to answer questions. If you call us or leave us an email, we try to answer those questions in a very timely manner. We don't want you to be sitting, oh, how do I do this? I don't understand. This doesn't make sense to me. Okay? Don't beat yourself up. Stop up here. Give us a call. We can see many times your course you're working on at the same time. So if you call me on the phone, you say, Ed, I'm trying to figure this out. Okay, our analysts over here can actually log into your courses and take a look at your courses and have a conversation with you on the phone at the same time and try to kind of troubleshoot some of that. Okay, we are not open Saturday or Sunday. Okay, so don't expect me to call you or 2 a.m. in the morning. I won't do that. Okay. All right. So we come on down here. Tutorials. Minimize that. This is where we want you to teach your classes. We don't want you to spend a lot of time teaching your students how to use D2L. That is precious, valuable time. We have tutorials out here. So if you're using a discussion tool, if you're using a Dropbox, if you're doing anything inside the D2L, these are very short tutorials that talk about how to use these tools. I've seen some instructors will actually take this widget and they'll put it inside of their course, kind of as a way for students to know how to use different tools with that. So, you're going to get homework assignments from me today. Maybe one of the homework assignments is look at a few of these. What are your students being told to do in a discussion? What are your students being told to do in a Dropbox? Because over the next 6 lessons, you are my students. Okay? You're going to need to know how to do the discussion. You're going to need to know how to do the Dropbox. You're going to need to know how to do the quizzes. So if you kind of watch those videos, it will let you know from a student perspective how to use these tools inside of that. All right, my courses. One of the things that you'll notice here is that we have the ability to filter things by semesters. Now, I've been here since ever, so I'm going to filter this only to a certain date or some series of classes. Okay, you are right here. You are in the early fall 2016. You are starting to see conversations going on in this class right now. I see that there are 9 unread postings. I logged in yesterday and I took a look at this class. So there might be, if you log in for the first time, there could be 15. I don't know how many there might be. You'll also see down here, I have another class that doesn't start until late fall. November 28th. Now, if this is a credit class, it would probably say like midnight on the official start date of the class. The teachers can get in here just fine, but the students can't. So a student can sit here and try to click, and they're not going to get in there because that officially does not begin until a certain date. Now, as instructors, we're going to learn how can we modify that date to let students maybe in early. Okay, I'm going to pick on Mary again. The class for winter session won't start until I think December 14th. But I'm going to ask you guys to open these things up a number of days earlier so the students can get in and maybe look at the syllabus, take a look and stuff what's expected of them. So even though the official start date might say this date right here, some of you might be saying, I'll let you in a little early. You can look at my syllabus and see what's out there. I won't have any due dates or deadlines before the official start date, but you can look at what's going on in my class before that time. And so we have a lot of faculty that will do that, just simply because, I'm going to get a lot of questions anyway from my students about what do you want me to do, all that kind of stuff. You can let them do with that. And so I start to see activities that are going on out here already for some reason. I still have some late people from back in July that I still need to go out and be great. Yes, ma'am.
I have a late start class, and my students were able to see my syllabus before. Or maybe she printed it the first day of class. Somebody brought the syllabus to class.
Okay.
I was surprised.
Well, sometimes they'll open at midnight.
Oh, okay.
So I tell students, you know, if you want to get into a class, wait up until 12:01, okay, and then you can get into it. So maybe they got in before class and printed that out. That might have been what happened there. All right. The news widget, of course, this is where I use ways to communicate with people. You know, right now, I get a lot of calls about the grade book. You know, my students can't see the total of grades. So I'm providing a little link out here to a help blog that we have. I talk about the Zoom product that I just talked about a few minutes ago. If you want to know more about how to use Zoom, that's there. If you don't know, all students get 100 free prints a semester. Okay? And so I just tell students, you know, print wisely, because after 100 prints, you will need to either purchase more pages or wait till next semester. Hopefully not wait till next semester. But, you know, that's another announcement that we're going to be making with that. All right, in the upper right corner is this thing called a StuMail Google App widget. Now, this is where if you would like, as a faculty member, to have access to StuMail, you can get access to that. This is also one of the things I strongly encourage all students to activate up here. And the reason why is then they can start reading their StuMail right up here in this little environment here. The other thing is they have access to Google Drive, which means they can store Word documents out there. They can use Google Documents out there if they want to. Those of you that have the .edu, you can go out there and activate those accounts. So we can make sure that those work for you. It's just another place that you can store and read information. We have the JCC information widget. You know, how do I get a hold of help desk, library, you know, bookstore, writing center, you know, lots and lots of different resources are out there. This course guide that I talked about earlier, that if you teach an online class, students can get to that, find out more about those online classes that we'll be teaching. The last thing I have down here at the bottom, well, a couple things. One is the open registration form. We have some resources on campus that, you know, are communities. So the Academic Achievement Center, the Writing Center, the Math Resource Center, these are all open classes that might have videos out there to help people. The Math Resource Center, if you enroll in this resource center, you have access to tons of videos. There's also a class out here on pathways to success. If you just kind of want as a student to know more about how can I be successful at college, you can enroll free. None of these cost anything. These are just free resources that students can click on and enroll and add to their list of courses in D2L. All right, let me take a breath again. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on early fall. This is the class that we're in right here. Now, when I log into the class, I see that I have, I'll get back here, this little edit course button. You will not see the edit course button on your iTeach class. That's because I'm the instructor, you're the student. Okay. It also means that in courses that you teach, the first indicator would be, do I see the edit course button right up here? That means I'm teaching these courses. We'll talk about more in detail, but that's a really quick way to see what might be going on. Remember I said up here, I can come up here and say view as student. So when I click on this view as student, notice how that edit course button goes away. So now I'm looking at this course sort of through the student's eyes. So I probably will be seeing everything that you guys see when I do that. If there were things that were sort of in a draft mode or were not supposed to be turned on yet, the student view will let me see that from that student perspective. Okay, I start to see little tabs across the top here. These tabs represent different tools. It will not represent all the tools that we have here at Johnson County. When we first implemented D2L about 4 years ago, we talked to our faculty and said, what tools do you use on a regular basis? Well, calendar, discussions, Dropbox, quizzes, grades. Okay, those were the things that were most common. As we progressed on for another year or so, I had a lot of face-to-face faculty come here and say, Ed, we're using it for face-to-face. Can you add the attendance tool out here? And I said, yeah, sure. Actually, I had to take it to our council, but we added this in here. So that was something that was added. This does not represent all of the tools that are inside of D2L. It probably represents the more popular ones. I've already had conversations with some faculty that say, Ed, can we revisit this? Can we talk about other tools rather than what are up here? Sure, absolutely. But it's part of the process of we decided as an institution which ones we would have. This does not mean that other D2L schools might have a different look. They might have a different kind of what we call navigation bar up here at the top. The other thing is that we also include in all blank courses this news widget. This is your whiteboard. This is your ability to put things in there. And we also include the update switch. These are the only two widgets that you're going to get in a blank class. We're going to talk about as we go through these lessons, how can I add other widgets that I might want? Okay, we'll talk about that more in detail. But I started with these two, and then I added another one in here. You'll see that the widget, the news widget, I can put messages up here. I can embed videos in here that I can have. As new activities are going on, this will show me that I have things I need to look at. There are unread discussions. Maybe there's new Dropbox assignments that I need to take a look at. So when I log into a class as an instructor, first thing I will typically look at is this right here. What's going on? Is there anything new that I haven't taken a look at? Are there things that need to be graded? I take a look at that up here. As I read discussion posts, that number will go down. As I grade things in the Dropbox, if I had it, that would drop down in numbers. You following me so far what's going on? Now, as I come across here, you'll see that I have these different tabs. Let me just take a few minutes to go over this calendar. I understand that, many of you will say, I already have those dates in my syllabus. Great, fine. I'm not going to force you to use the calendar in D2L. Okay, I'm not forcing you. What I will say, though, is that on some of these calendar dates, if you put them in there, they will show up in other locations to help remind these students. Let's say today, this week, what might be going on. So it helps the students understand, things that might be coming up. And what you'll see here is that on today's date, when I click on this, that I'm already putting links out to material that I've put into one of the folders or the modules. So if a student were to click on the calendar, they would see the same material that they would see if they clicked on the content tab. Same thing, just getting to it a different way. Do that. And so I'll talk about that briefly using the calendar tool. How can we add some of that stuff into that calendar tool? All right. Content is probably where we're going to be spending a lot of time. Actually, on Thursday, we're going to dig into this. We're going to start talking about how do we use the content tab to start putting things into this. You'll also notice that at the very top, I have the syllabus. Scott, what did you tell me you did for D2L already this semester?
I uploaded my syllabus.
Good, excellent. Okay, so you've figured out this thing. First thing students do is they come in, they see this syllabus. I tell all students in my classes, all classes, look for that syllabus because that's in a very, very important document. It has information on contact information. It has information if I have an office hour. It has information out there on maybe deadlines and due dates of things. What does it take to get an A, a B, a C, or a D, or something like that? So the syllabus, in my mind, is an extremely important document. And so we'll talk about how do I get it up in there and work with it. Bookmarks, you know, as you go through navigation within D2L, you might see a page and say, ooh, this looks important. I might want to come back to that at a later time. We're going to see a little icon on some of these pages that will say bookmarks. When I click on that, it will then show up under my bookmark list that I can come back to at a later time. Course schedule. I put some things into the calendar. So because I put them into the calendar, it's saying, well, today we're going to be doing lesson number 1. Tomorrow, nothing. But in the next 7 days, I have other materials that are showing up. So if you start using the calendar functionality of D2L, it helps students know what's going on with that. You know, do you have to do it? No, you don't have to do it. But I think students a lot of times appreciate knowing what's coming up. What is it that I need to be working on as I go through my course and do that? Discussions, you're going to see specifically in this class that every lesson will have a discussion. In our case, you're actually going to get 7 discussions because I'm going to start with a class introduction. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. In an online environment, I think that's important, that you at least, as the instructor, introduce yourself. Now, as to whether you want the rest of the class to introduce themselves, that's up to you, but I think as an instructor, you really do need to tell this class, here's who I am, okay? Here is what my expectations are. Here's what you can expect from me. You know, I think that's very, very important, especially in an online class. You do it in a face-to-face class, I think you do. You stand up and go, hi, I'm such and such. Here's what we're going to do this semester. You can do the same thing using some of these tools like Zoom or Relay, where you could stand and say, hi, I'm Ed. You're going to love this class, let me tell you, okay? All I ask you to do is log in every day, you know, I mean, however you want to do it. But you can introduce yourself to the students and use that as a welcome. I have an introduction out here. One of the things you're going to see, and we'll talk about this more detail, is that on this discussion, you're going to have to post first before you see anyone else's replies. Geez, Ed, why would you do that? Okay? I hate things like ditto, okay? Or seeing the same thing that every other student has put out there. Yeah, I like what Ed said. Ditto, okay? So the tool allows us that you have to commit yourself in a posting before you can see any of the other postings. And so if you go out there and you log in right now, you won't see anybody else's postings until you post first. Then when you post first, you'll hopefully see that there's probably 6 other postings out there at that time. As we go through
They
the
are not visible to the students first.
well, that's I must be tricky then, okay? Because when you post, you will then see the other. So that's great, okay? And the strategy is, I want you to think about what you're going to say. I don't want you to say, oh, I like what feels, okay? You know, that I see that a lot of times in face-to-face. I like what he said. I like what she said.
So not only this is the advantage of the online class that you are making students to think on their own. Because in face-to-face classes,
Sure.
yeah, in face-to-face classes, you are seeing that okay, yes, as you said, Ed has said wonderful thing.
Well, okay, so here's the thing about discussions is that I have, who sits in the back row besides Vito over here, okay? A lot of times, who sits in the back row of your class?
Probably don't want to talk.
That's right, they don't want to talk. Okay? What about the people in the front row?
Oh, gentlemen,
Go get
Can't keep them quiet. Okay, I know, Scott, you really just need to quiet down. I know. Okay? Is that in a discussion tool, everybody's in the front row. Okay, everybody's in the front row. You can't go to the back row in an online class. You're going to have to participate and be part of that conversation. There are many students in a discussion that they don't like being in the limelight, but they may be able to take their time and think about what they want to say, and they are very good at posting a discussion. They're very good at having those conversations. In an online class and in all classes, we would say that's engaging. That's engaging my students. Even in a welding class, we can do that. Okay? We can do it. You probably don't know this. I used to teach shop. That was one of my degrees.
Sweet.
Okay, so I can use a 60-13 rod, an overhead, I can do that. I wouldn't recommend that rod, but, I have other talents out there as well. So a lot of times when I taught classes, sometimes from a career and technical environment, writing is just as important. The communication skill is just as important whether I'm teaching welding or anything else. I need to be able to talk to my colleagues so that they understand what I want them to do on this job, right? Okay, so communication is an extremely important skill regardless of where we're going to be doing it. Safety is a big thing too. So there could be a discussion that talks about, here is a situation, okay? What is wrong with this or what's right with this? And allow the students to kind of comment on something of an environment that may be safe or may not be safe, and they can comment and give information on that. All right, so discussions in this class, besides introduction, are going to talk about different topics. Every lesson, you're going to talk about something different. Course design. I'm going to show you a video, and I'm going to ask you to respond to that video. It's a YouTube video. Down here, lesson 2, we're going to talk about accessibility. In the United States, it's a federal law for accessibility. All students have to have equal access to not only the physical facilities. That's why we have elevators. That's why we have the curb cuts when you come up on campus, but also inside the courses. If I'm a deaf student, okay, I need to have access to closed captioning to many of my different videos. So if you're using any videos in classes, you need to make sure that those are closed captioned. So in this case, I'm basically showing you a video and I'm asking you to respond to a question. Or maybe I have a web link out here and I'm asking you to respond to a question. So during this course, you're going to see a discussion for each of the lessons. It has nothing to do with D2L. It does have things to do with teaching in an online environment. How would I handle that? And so I want you to kind of think about how I would use that discussion tool as I go through this course. Dropbox. Each of you are going to every week do something a little different. So the first week, basically, I'm going to ask you, how did you welcome your students? Or how do you plan on welcoming your students in the class? Maybe it's an email that you're sending out. Hi, my name's Ed. Welcome to my class. Please read the syllabus. Okay, print out the syllabus. Some sort of a welcome message that you're going to send out. We're going to go over more stuff, as we go through. Overview. You're going to basically take a screen capture of, let's say, your course design, your source courses that I'm asking you to request, or your sandboxes. Does anyone know how we would do a screen capture on a computer or on a Windows machine? Excellent. If I look at the keyboard, see, keyboard, on this case here, there's a print screen button. So if I come over here, if this thing is even hooked up, which it is, I can press the print screen button. And when I go over here to something like Word, I'm going to say start, and I can do a Control V for paste. Okay, did I do it? Okay, let's try this again. Let's do print screen maybe over. There we go. We'll get there. There we go. Okay. So basically, that print screen button on your computer, PRTSCR, it does basically a picture of my computer screen. And then I'm going to ask you in a Dropbox assignment, take a picture and then paste it into, let's say, a Word document. And then upload that as a Dropbox assignment. Okay? The other reason I want you to do this is you may have questions from students. It didn't work. It broke. We had an error. Okay, what's this mean? A lot of times I'll just tell a student, can you do a print screen of that and send me that error or what you are looking at on the screen that's causing problems so I can take a look at that. That way you start to get used to, maybe an error that comes up and then you say, Ed, can you take a look at this email? Can you take a look at this and figure out what's going wrong with that? So print screens are going to be part of your homework when we do a grade book. Print screen is a grade book. When you create a very simple test, it can maybe be 2 questions. Print screen, show me what your quiz looks like. So each of your lessons are going to require a discussion that you're going to participate in. They're going to require a Dropbox, which is going to be probably like a screen capture of something that you're doing. This could have been also another screen capture. I could go back over here to my front page right here. And today I'm going to see something that says, today would be nice. Okay, my welcome message right here. So I could come up here and come on today. And I could hit a print screen here that is my welcome message. Come over here to Word. Okay, and see how I kind of show a welcome message to work with. Okay, all I'm trying to do is show you that for the Dropbox assignments, most of them are just going to be a screen capture of something that we're working on in your sandbox. And then the final thing that you're going to be doing in this class is going to be quizzes. So as you come through here, you'll see that you can take these quizzes. They're 5-point quizzes. You can take them over and over and over. I am the nicest teacher. I'll tell you what, I'll let you take them as many times as you want. And there are no due dates either, okay? You can take them over and over. Now, when you teach, you're probably not going to be that nice. Okay, and we're going to talk about how can we set a quiz up that I can have maybe 1 attempt, or a limited number of attempts, or a limited time to do that. But in this class here, just take the quiz, okay? You can take it over and over and over again. I'll tell you what the answers are, so if you miss something, you can go back and get a better grade with that. Grades, yes, you will have grades. And basically what I'm looking for in this class is you're shooting for 200 points. 200 easy points. So when you get those, actually it's 160 points as a passing grade, but I want 200 from you. When you get those 200 points, I'll send you this nice certificate suitable for framing, okay? Your name will go before the Board of Trustees. Dr. Sopcich will see that. Your deans will see that. Your chairs will see that. And so really, over these next few weeks, all I'm going to be looking for is, are you participating in these discussions? Are you submitting these drop boxes, screen captures of things? Are you completing these quizzes, which will be worth a total of 200 points, okay? But the points are not as important as the journey, okay? I want you to see from a student perspective, how easy is it to get into this? A number of years ago, I basically took all the deans and assistant deans at the time and I basically made them take iTeach, okay? You never saw so many crying and whining people, okay? But it was a great experience because after they went through this, they had a better appreciation for how much work it took to not only deliver an online course, but also take an online course. There were comments back with, man, you had to manage your time. Yeah. Okay, this is a lot of work. Yeah. Okay. I think I have a new crop of deans. I need to re-educate, but it was a great experience. I know, of course, you're kind of administrator right back home. It was a great experience to have some of the people that were in higher levels experience what this was like. It's not just simply turning on a switch and making it happen. It takes work to not only teach these classes, but also take these classes. And I'm going to pick on Mary a lot because in those 4 weeks that we have for winter session, those students are going to need to be ready to go. Okay? I tell students when they sign up for a 4-week class, it is a full-time job. Okay? 4 weeks, 3 credit hours, probably going to be close to 30 some hours of studying and working on things that entire week. So I tell students that. You're going to have a lot of grading to do too, so we're going to have to figure out how that's going to fit into that whole thing as well.
As compared to students, the faculty has to do most of the tasks in online courses. And if you have this much little time, 4 weeks, and I don't think that you will be able to do anything else for these 4 weeks.
You know what you're getting yourself into, right, Mary? Okay, very good, pretty good. Okay, it is going to be work, okay? But I think going into it with that understanding that I know it's going to be working, there are things that I can try to automate as much as possible. We're going to talk about over the next few weeks. I can set a quiz up that, will automatically grade. Okay, I'll set that quiz up so it will randomly generate the questions in order. It will randomly choose the answer. So Billy might say question A is B. Scott might say it's different. It's the same question, but the randomized order of the answers can be changed. For that, Mary?
So can I start, building the class in a shell and then migrate it over into the official one?
Yes, absolutely. That's what we would use the source course for.
Okay.
We can put that over there. Now, I'm not sure, is Molly going to give you some stuff to work with, or Mark, or Gretchen going to give you?
I teach the mass media class now.
Okay.
But, I
Well,
like to know
So we can
what they have that's different.
create a separate source course, okay? And that can kind of be your environment to work in. You can copy all stuff that you've worked on before. And here's another thing to talk about, is if you know other instructors in your department that are already teaching these classes, ask if they will add you in. Maybe just for a short period of time. Or maybe they have source courses that they will let you go into, okay? I think we're in a couple classes right now, right? Okay, so you're able to kind of be in there and see what your colleagues are doing. Sometimes they may let you only in for a short period of time. Maybe sometimes they'll only let you in as a student because they don't want you messing around with their grade books, okay? But it's okay to ask. Ask, hey, can you let me into your course? Or better yet, hey, do you have some time? Will you sit down with me and show me, Mark, Molly, whoever, how you're doing it? Exactly. So, I think the great thing about education is that we share. We really do. I worked in manufacturing before I came here to work. I love my job working in manufacturing, but sometimes you get a little protective of stuff, okay? This is my job. You can't. But I found education being very open to stuff. Just don't go out and mess with their grade books. They get very upset when you go in and start messing with other people's grade books. Okay, so we've got grades out here. User progress. This is another thing that as you go through your course, you're actually going to be able to see how much time am I spending on certain areas. So how many logins do I have? Now, I'm in here as a student. So if I flip this over to the instructor mode, and I'm going to pick on a class from earlier in the spring, summer. Okay, so here is my July class. And I'm going to click on user progress today. Okay, what you'll start to see here is that these are my students. And I can see in some cases that I have lots of things that Ryan took a look at. He had multiple logins that he was doing. He had lots of his grades up here that he's worked on. In our winter session, Mary, okay, we're going to be looking at this as we come in. We're going to see who are my students that are engaging. Who are the ones that are getting started? Because when I looked at last time we did this, when I saw something that looked like this, not that Donna isn't bad. Donna, you're very good, okay? But it showed me that there was no engagement going on. Therefore, there probably is not going to be a high success rate at the end of that class. So I'm looking at what's going on here. I'll pick on Ryan because Ryan did an excellent job. And I click on his name. As an instructor, you'll be able to click on your students. You'll be able to go out here and take a look at, what was their grades like? How did they do? How many quizzes did they complete? What was the grades on that? What about the discussions? Okay, I can see a lot of things all at one time. in here. So the user progress is going to be something for the specific student that I can see what I'm doing as a student, but I also, as an instructor, can drill down in and see the same information. How much time are they spending on these areas? How many times are they logging in? How are they doing grade-wise? And so I'm not picking on you all. I'm just kind of using you as an example in this class that you can see how much work your students are doing. Does that make sense with that? Yes, ma'am.
Does this login show when they visit my particular course or just in general B2L login?
Sure. If I look at login history, okay, I think it's showing last access to the course versus last access to the system. See up here? So it will kind of shows both. Okay, so this shows that Ryan last accessed the course back in August. So that's because he's done. He was done with the class by the end of July.
So you click on a certain person to find that out?
I can, yeah. I can do that. Another thing that I can do is besides the user progress, I can also go into the class list. And I can come over here and it will tell me when was the last time that they logged into my course. So the class list is going to show you when was the last time that they logged in, period. Okay, it's not giving no detail. When some of you might be doing, you know this, you will have to fill out for all courses, online and face-to-face, last day of attendance, right? Or those kinds of things. So if that student gets, unfortunately, an F, you can go out here and look and see when was the last time they logged in. Or you need to make sure that within the first 2 weeks of this class that they've logged in or that they've done something, right? Mary, in your case, it's going to be the first 3 days.
Right.
Okay, that you're going to need to know, have these students done anything? So by going to that class list, you're going to see whether or not they logged in to do that. Also notice under the class list, the profiles. You know, so the student that wanted to do the flower, okay, that would show up here under the class list. Little green dots. Does anybody know what that means?
At the moment on it?
Yes, exactly. They are currently logged in. So I can come over here to Daniel and I can send him an email, I guess, if I really, really wanted to. Okay, I won't do that. Okay, but it does allow me to see if people are logged in. Now, as instructors, you might say, I don't like that. I think it's under account settings. Okay, right here. Under account settings, make me appear as offline, okay? So you don't want your students to know you're really logged online, okay? You can go in and choose that so that don't bother me, okay? I'm not saying you should do that, but that is, if you don't like that little green dot, you can turn that little green dot off and they can't see you to be doing that. All right, so one of the things that I kind of wanted to just talk about today was this ability to get a big picture of the work environment that we're working. I'm not going to play this, but if you go out and watch this video, I hate watching myself. But what I've done here is I've used a tool like Relay to basically welcome students to my class, and I will do things like in this class, when you click on discussions, you're going to see another discussion. When you come up here and click on quizzes, you're going to see a number of different quizzes. I basically try to provide at the very beginning of that course a little bit of an overview of what they can expect with that. I explain to them, make sure you read the syllabus. And we're going to talk about how I can use this Relay tool to then embed that message into my news items or other items that I might be using within D2L. I heard somebody go ding dong, so let me check and see. They might have logged into my Zoom environment. Let's see. No, they must have left. Okay. But anyway, these are some of the different things that I use as a way to welcome. I send out an email that I hope you all received. Said welcome to the class. Here's some of the things to keep in mind. In an online class, like I indicated before, I always encourage my students to ask questions. Always, always, always. I might tell them this. I have a family. I mean, when I was in my PhD program, one of my advisors that I really, really liked, or the advisor I liked, also had a family, and he told us, all the class, I have a family. All my quizzes will be due at 5 o'clock on Friday. Okay? I will be monitoring emails over the weekend. You can look at new material over the weekend, but I probably won't get back to you until Monday morning because I'm going to be spending time with my family over the weekend. Okay? I appreciated that. I also appreciated that, by doing that 5 o'clock on Friday, that gave me the weekend to kind of spend time with my family as well. New material opened up. So it meant that I could spend the weekend if I wanted to studying and prepping and getting ready. But, sometimes if we put things at midnight on Sunday, that instructor may not be available, may not be as responsive. I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just thinking that as an instructor, if you tell your students what they can expect from you, that really helps. And listen, I won't get back to you probably until Monday. I never give my cell phone number out, okay? I will never do that to my students. But, it might be one of those things that I will tell them. I will be monitoring emails over the weekend and looking for that. Okay, Ed, take a breath. Questions? Thoughts?
I was just thinking about that idea that on Friday evening you are going to say somebody, or over the weekends, whatever your weekend is in your country, you are telling them. So that point makes some sense in a way that you are letting them to see the new material as well.
Correct.
So that on the weekend, if as you mentioned, they want to work over it, so they are going to work over it. But how about there are certain students who may feel relaxed interacting with you on the weekends only?
Sure.
Because Monday to Friday,
Sure.
they are busy in their activities.
Sure. I think it depends the culture. I think I'm going to say if it's something that, and we do have this in this country, where we might have weekend kinds of courses that are going on. For sure, if it's something that is going to require, I know in Pakistan, you guys are talking about hybrid courses that they meet on the weekends, is that correct? You couldn't turn them off, okay? You're going to have to talk to them on the weekends. So in that case here, you're going to have to do that. But if it's something where they have Monday through Friday that they can contact you, I've had office hours on, during the week, maybe I'm doing a Zoom session, multiple times during the week. That may not be, I may not feel as guilty about that. I for sure will tell them, I'm not going to get back with you at 2 a.m. in the morning. Just don't hold your breath, okay? I'm not going to get back with you. Yes, exactly. And it depends upon how you're delivering. I know you're doing sort of a hybrid delivery on the weekend. You're going to have to be available to them. Okay, that's not, you're going to have to.
That's a different model.
Sure. Now, I think there is opportunities in this country to maybe do weekend things. There are other universities in this country that they will do like doctorate programs, Saturday and Sunday. I mean, it's very intense. They're going to be spending. So yes, that would be maybe a little bit different for that. Okay. Other comments, observations? Yes, ma'am.
I have some students that have never accessed my courses and they've been going for 3 weeks. Do I need to do anything about that or I just?
Is it an online course or face-to-face?
No, it's face-to-face.
Okay. Is there something in there that they really need to take a look at or do?
No.
Okay. Okay. So.
I mean, that's kind of how I felt about it, but some students get on there every day.
Sure.
I didn't do anything for them.
Yeah. I mean, if you want them to do something, I'd be concerned. But if there's nothing out there for them to look at, then I wouldn't worry about it.
I mean, they can look at their grades.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. Sure.
But they don't, I guess they're not quite.
Yeah. I mean, what I will see some of our face-to-face instructors that will start to do is they will put information like notes lecture materials out there in a face-to-face class. So it's available for them. It becomes this destination where they can go and look for things. They might create discussions out there that might encourage other students to sort of talk to each other and have conversations about things. I'll tell you what, your students are doing this. Okay, I can almost guarantee you that they're doing this. I've got a freshman this year in college. I know he's doing this, talking to his classmates and wanting to know what's going on. So if you want to provide a discussion out there, what I'm doing in this class here is when you go into discussions, actually, let me go back to your class. Fall. I'm actually creating a discussion that's called down here at the bottom, down. I need help. Okay. And I'm basically saying, you know, if you have a question and you want me to answer to it. Now, the other thing that I will do is I probably should subscribe to that. So I will get a notification if that comes in. The other thing that's nice about I need help is that all of you, the students, will see the question as well. And maybe you can help each other out with that. Well, obviously, Dr. Lovett's not going to respond to this question, but I think I know what, you know, you might want to be looking for. The other thing that I can do with this, I think, is I can subscribe to this. So that if there's something that happens on this thing, I get a notification to eLovett automatically. Now, that's not going to be the case in all discussions. I really sometimes do not care what color you like, okay? It might be something that I'm just trying to drum up some conversation, but I don't want to know immediately through an email what color you like. Now, if you say, I need help, I'd like to know that pretty quickly, so I get an email notification. So to answer your question in the long way that I did is, do I worry about it? No. If there's nothing that there's really attracting them to that course shell, except maybe grades, don't worry about it. Okay? But it is there available for all of you if you want to put notes out there or handouts or anything like that. I used to, and I don't do it anymore, but I used to carry with me a week's worth of handouts for Johnny who didn't come to class yesterday. Doug Wilson did the handout. I can just say, go out here, it's there. Okay? Or, you know, maybe I could release it to them. You know, only if you do this will you be able to see that. That's a whole other conversation. Where in D2L, we can set up what we call release conditions. That the student has to do something first before they can get access to content. Some of your colleagues will actually set it up in a way that they have to take a syllabus quiz. Okay, they actually have to answer questions that would only be available by reading the syllabus before they can get access to other content. Okay. Kind of mean, but kind of cool. Okay, at least they've had to read that syllabus in order for them to get access to it. So there's lots of things that we can do inside of D2L. You know, where they have to get a certain score on a quiz before they can go on to the next part. A lot of things can be based upon date, absolutely, but other things can be based upon success. Have you scored something on this quiz before you can go to the next thing? So there's a lot of things you can do with that. Questions? How are we doing? All right. So go ahead. Did you just clear your throat, Scott?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Stop talking all the time. You know?
I know. Gotta tone it down.
Okay. Thoughts about this? What are some things you're thinking about? Or have I put you to sleep yet?
I use Angel, so many of the things I see are like similar to Angel. So most of these options were in Angel.
At Michigan State, you used Angel.
I use that.
Yep.
And I have instructor because I taught the course for 2 years, so I have instructor come on.
Yeah, we used Angel for a long time until it was bought by Blackboard. And then we had to make a decision as to what we were going to go with, whether we were going to go with Blackboard or go with a different system. About 4 years ago, we decided to go with Desire to Learn. It's a Canadian company. There's lots of different learning management systems that are out there. A lot of them are going to do the same thing. They're all going to probably have a discussion. They're all probably going to have a Dropbox. They're probably all going to have a grade book of some sort or a way to do quizzes. So a lot of them do the same kinds of things. It's just when you get a different system, okay, now how are you doing this a little bit different? There were things in Angel that we really liked that unfortunately we don't have over in D2L. But then there's things that D2L does that Angel didn't do. So they're kind of all in that sort of environment to do things. Other comments, questions, observations? You think you can get around okay? So homework assignments, source course. I want you to start requesting source courses. If you need to email me and say, Ed, I need a source course, and here's what I want you to call it, I will create that for you. Here's my email address. One of my 3 email addresses. Okay? elove@jcc.edu. That's the one I probably check the most often. But send me an email, say, hey, Ed, create me a source course. I'll create you 1, 2, 3, however many source courses you want that you can go in and kind of play with a little bit. The other thing is that I want you to go out and start introducing yourself in this iTeach class. Introduce yourself to the rest of the class. Think about a welcome message. What would I do? What would be a message I might send out to my class? If you say 2 paragraphs, I'm fine. I just kind of want you to think about that whole, you don't have to do a video. I'm not requiring it. I just want you to think about that welcoming message to work on. The other thing is just getting out there and kicking the tires, trying things out. The source course is probably the best place. You really can't break anything in a source course. It's a sandbox. There's no students in there. So we can, you can try things out. What does that look like? On Tuesday or Thursday of this week, we're going to go out and we're going to start talking about how we would use the news tool to create a message. We're going to talk about how to do that. We're also going to go into the content tab and we're going to start talking about how we would build things. So the content tab is really nothing more than a folder structure. So when I go in today, internal error, that's what you get. Let's come back. When you go in, it's just folders. And it's what you put inside of those folders that we're going to talk about. So for some of you, I hope you don't get this, but you might have something that says week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, okay? Or it might say chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, unit 1, whatever it might say. The content modules are nothing more than folders that you can name. Some of you might say handouts, quizzes, something that organizes your class. Anyway, now, Mary is going to need to come up with something that every single week those students are going to want to know exactly what's expected of them. They're not going to have the time to hunt and peck around and try to figure out, where do I go and do this? Okay? She might want to do week 1. Okay? Here's everything you're going to need to do in week 1, week 2, week 3. Something along that line. So I want you to think about what your course might look like, how you want to arrange it. There's no right or wrong way. It's just something that I want you to think about. Once you decide on that, another important thing is going to be consistency. Making sure that if I do week 1, is week 2 going to look very similar to that, so students aren't lost. That you changed your mind on how you were going to organize material. Consistency as you go through that. Okay. If you want to look at colleagues' accounts and see how they're arranging it, that would be another good idea. I'm going to show you some examples on Thursday of other instructors that have they've arranged materials so you can get some good ideas. Questions? Yes.
When you start a discussion, and then you want to have the students participate before they can see what everybody else has put, can that participation be a photograph?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you can add like an image.
You can add an image in there, you can add a video in there, you can add links in there, lots of different things. I think a lot of times you need to sort of want them to engage themselves. Okay, who are you? Oh, that's a great question. Okay, maybe who are you, but specifically tell me, what's your background, blah, 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 like that. So you add more into that discussion thread than just who are you with them. And that's engaging. All right, anything else? All right, so you start to have your homework. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'll try to make that available to people that weren't able to join us today.